The morning the house told on me, the sun slid across that spotless kitchen and lit up the bruise I was hiding. My hand was steady on the mug, my smile was the kind you rehearse in bathroom mirrors, and then Mr. Avery finally looked up and saw the part of my life I always kept off the clock. "Lila, what happened to your face?" he said, gentle but not fooled, and I went for the old script, the easy lie. "Cabinet door, I'm clumsy, but the light caught the mark on my forearm too, and the air changed like a room right before a storm." That's when the knocking started, not a normal knock, but a promise, 3 heavy hits from the side entrance, and my name dragged out of someone's throat like a threat. Lila opened the door, and my fingers let go of the tray before my brain gave permission. Here's something people don't see. There's a list a woman carries around in her head. If I open the door, it'll be worse if I don't. It'll be worse if I run, he'll say I embarrassed him. If I stay, he'll say I chose him. You know what I mean? So my body did that small, quiet, it learned in bad rooms, and I wanted to say, don't call anyone, please. I'll slide out the back. I have a daughter, she's 6. Her name is June. Everything I do is so she doesn't flinch when an elevator dings. Mr. Avery stood tall and very still, touched his phone like a man who knows exactly who to call when the world gets stupid. "Stay behind me," he said, and his voice went ocean flat. The smart lock rattled glass, spiderwebbed Dana, head of security, bun-tight eyes steady, appeared with 2 guards who moved like choreography for grown-ups, and then my husband shouldered in with a tire iron, and that look he wears when he believes the universe owes him hinges. "Grab your things, you're coming home, mister." Avery stepped half a pace forward, calm like a judge reading a parking ticket. "You're on private property, you're threatening a member of my staff. This ends now." And my husband curled his lip at the word staff. "She's mine," he said, like he was quoting a play he writes every day. "No person is property," Mr. Avery said. And I don't know why those 4 words cracked open a window in me, maybe because I'd said the opposite in my own head for years. I am his problem, his apology, his reason to yell. My husband lunged. Dana's forearm redirected the swing, a leg sweep. Borrowed gravity's help, the tile made a sound. I felt in my teeth. "Hands open," she said like a weather report. The guards pinned him without adding extra pain, which is a grace you only appreciate when you've seen the other kind. And somewhere a siren threaded itself into our morning. The cops came in with that quiet. You learn by walking into bad rooms for a living. They saw the glass, the tire iron, the bruise the sun had tattled on, and the posture of a man who believes consequences are for other people. Donna laid it out, clean, attempted forced entry, tool brandished, staff, threatened force, minimal and proportionate. And when an officer asked if I needed medical attention, my mouth said no before the rest of me could vote. Then he asked if I wanted to make a statement, and my eyes went to Dana, who said it like a promise instead of a dare. "We'll document you, set the pace." My husband tried one last hook as the cuffs clicked. "Lila, tell them you overreact. Remember June's birthday? We were fine." And I heard myself answer, not loud, "Just true," she cried, "because you yelled at the cake." Sometimes truth doesn't need volume, it just needs a place to sit. After they took him out, the house exhaled, but didn't know how to breathe yet. Dana brought a tablet and a little ruler card, and we turned the worst parts of my skin into evidence, 3 angles, steady light numbers. You could put in a spreadsheet, cold at first, but cold is better than invisible. Then Mr. Avery looked at me, not past me, not through me. "I have an apartment at Riverlight," he said. "Empty good security, you can say no, but if you want it, it's yours. No rent, no strings. We'll bring June to you, and I'll connect you with counsel who works for you, not me." And exhaustion borrowed suspicion's shoes, so I asked why. He stared at nothing for a heartbeat, like a memory sat down in the room. because someone did it for my mother, and I never forgot, and that was enough. Okay, I said, not surrender beginning. Riverlight's garage gate came down with a sound like a jaw. Setting, the concierge said my name like it belonged there already. The apartment wasn't big, but it was warm where it counted soft lamps. A couch that looked like naps, windows over the river, that cut the city into sparks, and my hands touched counters like church pews. The week after a funeral, I don't deserve this, I said. Because shame is fluent and gratitude sometimes stutters. Dana shook her head. Safety isn't something you earn. It's something you're owed. That night, the door didn't rattle. Fear still paced the hallway and tried knobs, but it could not come through, and my body read the difference. In the morning, Mr. Avery came in a sweater that said maybe he had Saturdays sometimes, and he brought pancakes because June once mentioned them at a picnic, and when a billionaire drips syrup on his sleeve and says, "This is why I outsource competence," your kid laughs like a cartoon, learned manners. Yeah, that happened. Then the day became forms and phone calls and a counselor who didn't use the word should, and somewhere in that flow I stood at the window and saw my reflection stand a quarter-inch taller. Progress can be that small and still be real. Court smelled like old paper and furniture polish. The bench was harder than it looked. My husband's lawyer smiled the way a person does when they want your wallet to fall into their hand. My lawyer, Ben Ortiz, had a tie that meant business and a voice that treated me like a person. Judge Mallory had the expression of a woman who'd seen too much and chosen not to blink, and when I took the stand, my legs didn't shake so much as they remembered. Ben asked questions that let me lay out a map, not just the worst morning, but the geography of a pattern, how control starts as a joke about your clothes and ends in your bones, how you start saying I'm clumsy because it's easier than saying he meant it. The other lawyer tried the classics. If it was so bad, why did you stay? Isn't it true you bruise easily? Would you say you're emotional? And Judge Mallory's eyebrows did a thing that felt like a sister in a robe. I answered. Without decoration, I stayed. Because he said he'd take June, and because fear is expensive and I was broke. I bruise normally, I am emotional because I am human, and when Ben held up the photos, my cheeks burned, but I didn't look away, cold. Evidence is still better than a rumor. Mr. Avery sat in the gallery like any other citizen, didn't speak, didn't steer, just sat with the same intention he'd had in the kitchen. And I leaned on it without leaning toward it. The judge came back with a voice that builds or breaks you. Full restraining order for 5 years, sole custody to Ms. Green. No contact with the child, or her workplace violations, will result in immediate arrest. The gavel didn't so much strike as close a door. My lungs took a breath. They'd been saving since the day June was born. My husband tried to stand and argue that I was ruining his life. The bailiff straightened, and his words sat down. And in the hallway, June ran at me with her backpack doing a dance and shouted, "Mama," like the word had finally been allowed outside. That's the win, but life doesn't turn into a montage just because a paper says you're free the first week. I jumped at a neighbor's door, slam a smell in the laundry aisle. Made my stomach go tight. June asked, "Are we going home?" And I said, "We are home," and felt how heavy that word is, Mr. Avery kept showing up in small, respectful ways, a text about school supplies, a handyman who fixed a leak without making me feel like charity. Mrs. Vega sent food that tasted like hands, not companies. Dana checked in like a metronome. My counselor taught me to breathe into panic like a knot. You can work with your thumbs, and the part of me that's always been underestimated, too quiet, too serious, too poor to count, woke up and said, "Watch me." We went back to the estate once, not the echoing halls, just the gardens, June-fed koi that moved like coins you tossed into a fountain. When you were 12, I stared at the windows where the sun had tried to tell on me, And I realized the place where everything failed gets to be the place where everything turned annoying but true. Mr. Avery stood beside me. This house always felt like an airport, arrivals and departures, nobody staying. Maybe it doesn't have to, and I heard what he didn't say, and felt both the warm and the warning. There's a version of this story where the rich man saves the poor woman, and the sunset smells like money. That's not the story I owe my daughter. I don't know if I'm ready, I said. You don't have to be, he answered. Healing has no deadline. Weeks later, we moved into a little townhouse with cracked sidewalks and hydrangeas that don't care about property values. We painted one room yellow because June said, "It's the color of breathing," and she named it the Sunflower Room. Avery carried boxes, banged his shin, said a word that made June gasp and laugh. Then he left, because good men leave when it's time to let women own their space. A gossip blog tried a headline with a wink, "Housekeeper lands in Luxe apartment," and some anonymous account said women like me make things up to get ahead. There's a police report with my name on it, photos with rulers and timestamps, a court order with ink, and a little girl who doesn't flinch when I shower. Even with all that, some folks will decide I'm a liar or a charity case. The truth sits in a harder chair. Mr. Avery is not my savior. He used what he had to stop something under his roof. He could have looked away. He didn't. That counts. But if he had walked past, if Donna had rolled her eyes, if the judge had been in a mood, I still would have had to find a way. I am lucky and stubborn. Luck runs out. Stubborn doesn't if you feed it. So here's the question I'm leaving with you. Should a boss step into what looks like home business, or is that crossing a line? Did the system work? Or did I get lucky? What counts as justice to you? The gavel, the new locks, the kid who finally sleeps. And have you ever said, "I'm clumsy," when what you meant was someone hurt me? You can say it here. You won't hear the door rattle. If this hit you in the chest, like, subscribe and drop a comment with your take. Argue with me, back me up. Tell your own story, right, wrong, bias, what you would have done in that kitchen. I'll be reading and I'll be rooting for you.